provided with the opportunity to give me the best in the world, but she did give me the best. She gave me love. She gave me belief. She never let me down, even though she couldn't buy me the newest tennis shoes or the newest pair of shoes, or even though she had to take her welfare check and her food stamps and give me whatever she could give me. I never went without a meal. I never went without a hug. You know, so martial arts was my way to show her one day that she would have a house and she would have all these great things that I've seen in the TV and seen on the movies, that she never stopped believing. Even though nobody knew what martial arts, what it is today, most people wasn't fortunate to see the real value of it. And I remember, man, one day I just wanted it so bad. And at 17, I got on a bus and went to Madison Square Garden, so scared, so scared. I only had $30. But I wanted this dream to come true. And I went to Madison Square Garden and won first place. And I suppose it had been on TV, but I was so scared. And I got back on the bus and hurried up and got back home. And I took the best of whatever we had, and I would get on bus for 3 and 4 and 5 days just so I can get 8th place. Because I knew God was doing for me what I couldn't do for myself. All I had to do was show up. That's all I had to do. And one day I seen a magazine, and it was an ad for Dennis Brown. I picked up that magazine and I called this person. And I said, I just want an instructor to just give me some guidance. I want to be a world champion. Yeah, sure, little bro. If you can meet me on the bus, I'll meet you at the bus station, and you can teach my people gymnastics, not teach you martial arts. I don't know how I was able to get on that bus and get to DC, but he was right there in his car waiting for me. I mean, for months and months, and trained me and taught me. And one day, because I talk about the beauty and the positive, but there's a lot of negative that's going on. Sometimes when I try to tell my story, it's kind of hard to tap into it, because it's just like so many of these areas, the things that you just don't think that happen to martial arts. But guess what? I guarantee you it happens to the average teenager today. We just wasn't paying attention to it when it was happening that day, during those times. But right now, it's the same thing that every teenager faces right now. And I kept on struggling, trying to play two sides of the fence. And for some reason, I'm just one of these kids, I just let it dream. So for some reason, some say, call Hong Kong and ask them to get your part in a movie. So you can imagine what my mom did when she seen the telephone bill, Japan, Hong Kong, all these things. That is crazy. And then I decided to, I don't know where I got the idea, just write a letter and send it to McDonald's to sponsor me to go around the country. And guess what? McDonald's sponsored me to go around the country. I had just turned 18 years old. Never in the history of martial arts did somebody get McDonald's, then 7-Eleven, to sponsor me. And I remember this guy was the most wealthiest McDonald's owner in Maryland. And he said, I want you to stop competing. I'm going to give you a chance to open up a karate school. I ain't know about no karate school. I wanted to do it, but I ain't know nothing about business. He said, I'm going to give you a chance to open up a school. You don't need to compete if you make money. I'm a young kid. What are you talking about? Make money, teach class, teach people, can't practice, give up my dream. No, that don't work. But you make more money, you can do all this. No. So I told my instructor, Master Brown, he knew. He said, well, guess what? I'll open up the school, and we'll call it the Dennis Brown Shaolin Wushu Academy. So at 18 years old, I had my first martial arts school, the first Kung Fu school ever in the city of Baltimore. And my instructor, I remember he told me one of the biggest dreams, because Bruce Lee was dead now. He said, if you can sign up 10 students, I'll take you to China, all expenses paid. Now, this is a kid from the projects, Beijing, China, when the doors was just opening. Now, you talking about training in China today? No, it's nothing compared to what they was doing when the doors first opened. We talking training from 5 o'clock in the morning until 9 o'clock, then take a break, then come back at 3 o'clock and train from that time. And then when Americans was coming over there, people was coming to get you, making you their blood brothers, teaching you all these weapons and bagua and shingi in the woods. It was like a wealth of knowledge. Change. Not just did he give me an opportunity. Here's a man that would get in a car and drive for 7 days to take me to a national karate tournament. Now, you talking about martial artists? I know people hear these great things about Master Brown, and you see all these things. He's making all this money. He's doing all this stuff. But this is the man that will put me in a car and drive me to Tunis for 7 days. And I think during that time, I didn't realize what was happening. I used to sit in meetings with a guy by the name of Nick Kokinis at 17 years old. Taught on the blackboard by a guy by the name of Nick Kokinis teaching me everything about business. And this is the negative side. But I would stay out so late and partying that by the time I would catch the bus to come to the business meeting, I would say, can I be excused? And I would be in the bathroom throwing up from partying all night. They didn't know. I didn't know either. But this man was teaching me everything about business. So I was on the cutting edge of martial arts business consulting. And I guess through all those things, still not realizing the blessings and the things that Master Brown and Tayari Cassell, I don't know if you ever remember him, he was the first person to ever mix martial artists on the wide world of sport, Oriental world of self-defense. Back in the 70s, wide world of sports, when it was Kung Fu versus karate, he was the first Kung Fu person to be right there fighting those guys and then went on to become the best in forms and weapons on the circuit. I didn't realize that I had both of those guys guiding me and conditioning me and training me for this level. And I guess I learned from every one of my students, even the 2.5-year-old kid that comes in and starts crying and I gotta sit down on the floor and do stuff like this for him, or do stuff like that for him, or do stuff like this for him. Guess what? By the time I do that for a 2.5-year-old kid, you know what he's doing? Professor Band, play with me again. By the time he turns 6, we can do great things. Because it's not about the technique, it's about the relationship. It's about the, yes sir, yes ma'am, sit down, yes sir. Once you teach a person character, you can change the world. And isn't that what martial arts is all about? That's what it's all about. You take the spirit, you take character, you can change the world. And that's what I love so much about the martial arts. So if you ask me, what is it? I mean, do I regret anything? No. I have the greatest life in the world. I get up every morning trying to change the world doing something that I enjoy the most. Martial arts. The only twist to it now, I teach something that's called the fusion of martial arts. It's called hip-hop and martial arts, which is no different than what martial arts was in the 70s. For anybody that was born that time, it was music, it was creating movements from Shaw Brothers elements and dancing and beatboxing and rhyming. That's what it was. They all were connected. In some kind of way they became disconnected when martial arts went from its original core, because if it wasn't for any inner city, there would be no martial arts. Because if you do research, when all those movies were coming here, they were being housed in the inner cities. Mainstream America wasn't ready for them. Who made Bruce Lee great? And who brought all those to the city? So when you take this element and you bring it back, you can change the world. And what I do, I sit back and I just let the kids come to me and tell me what I need to do. And that's what it's about. I love martial arts. Like I said before, I will never trade it in for anything in the world. And then when I see what it's doing for my son, my daughter, my wife, I got a little grandson upstairs and he spins on his head. He does an actual move, breakdancing, spinning on his head. We went to Harlem, New York, and people just jumped for joy. Oh! But you know what? If you tell him it's wrong to spin on your head because you might hurt your neck, guess what he's going to do? Stop spinning on his head. I'm a big kid. If I can connect to that, I can change everything. So the power in this spirit, when people like educational funding know that I went to jail and went all that stuff and come to me and say, Ben, we're going to buy you a building so you can own your own school, I still say, I don't know how that happened. When a company could come to me and say, we want to write a book for you, which is one of the top publishing companies in the world, and I wrote the book when I was incarcerated, and they said, well, we want to do a Kung Fu book, but I can't do a Kung Fu book because if I write a Kung Fu book, then you put me in a box. I want to write a book based on principles. It was already set in motion. Or when you get a chance to be on a TV show playing your same character that you was in, you ain't gonna tell me, I don't want to wake up. I do not want to wake up. And that goes back to that chi, man. That goes back to that pure feeling. When I teach my students, every day you come to class, it's never the same. It's never the same. If you see me teach, man, you would think our building about ready to fall down. Turn turn on the music, yelling, screaming, run up the wall, flipping. I'm 43 years old, and still when the kids start running down the floor flipping, I'm flipping right along with them. It's like, man, I love it. When I just see the power that martial arts can do to change the world. And I think the greatest example that I show that is when I show it to my kids, my son and my daughter. You know, and you know, like I said, when I look at my son and my daughter who would never practice martial arts, she got bit by a pit bull and nearly lost her whole arm. The dog just ripped her, it was just hanging by a little piece of skin. And I grabbed her, and it was my dog. And she said, Daddy, just make him stop. She wouldn't even cry. She said, Daddy, just make him stop. And I had to make him stop. And from that day forth, a superhuman person. She never wanted to study martial arts in her life. Now you cannot stop her from doing martial arts. She runs a school. She does a magazine on MySpace. She's on an honor roll in school. She does she writes movie scripts. 14 years old. We took her to an EFC business seminar last week. They still yelling out and talking about, she ain't 14. How did she learn all this? I don't know. I just think that martial arts is about allowing people to be free to express themselves. And whatever they become, it don't matter. Because for every time you fall down, if you fall down 19 times, you get up 20, it's the 20 that's going to make you successful. The 19 is going to be your experience to be able to share with somebody else. So if somebody trying to teach me and they haven't fell down a couple of times, but they only stood up all those times, what can you really teach me? Because your test hasn't survived the struggle. And that's why we spar in martial arts. Because if I'm sparring with you and you beat me up and you hit me and you doing all this and I'm getting mad, I'm losing. I got to be able to flow, smile, love, just go, and keep on going. And if I survive it, might not win the title, but I won something else. I want some experience to be able to come back and say, geez, he broke my jaw, but I survived it. Next time I just got to keep my hands up. That's martial arts. And I believe right now when we look at martial arts as a whole, if you're not representing the pureness of martial arts from a school standpoint, from a competitive standpoint, because that's what people are looking for. They want pure martial arts. They want the real hardcore principles. They don't want little Johnny to come through your school and they pay you X amount of money so you can be able to give them a next belt. Martial arts school ownership is Willie the Bam Johnson. Martial arts competition is Willie the Bam Johnson. Martial art movies is Willie the Bam Johnson. Martial fusion hip hop is just Willie the Bam Johnson really coming forth to say, look, this is me. This is who I am. This is what I contribute to the martial arts. It's not about hip-hop. It's about creatively expressing yourself. And if you go to China and go to Japan, hip-hop is bigger in those countries than they are in the United States. So for every little kid that's no longer doing Japanese karate, guess where he's at? He's over there doing hip-hop. So if I want to change him, why not come with him? And listen to what they're saying and align the principles of martial arts with that. And then guess what? I hit him on a subliminal. So when the kid come back and say, man, that was dope, man. That was like banging. And you ain't even tell me. I know, it's all right, man. As a matter of fact, check this new beat out. Check this out, man. And plus I'm dressed, look at that shirt, man. That's the dopest shirt I ever seen. That's okay. Because guess what? I done fed his soul. And one day, when the time is right, it's going to come to him like it came to me in jail. So I take no credit for that. I just know, I'm just so thankful that God has saved me and allowed me to be able to be one. And so there's no separation. The same person you see right here is the one you'll see in the dojo. The one you see as a husband. It's no separation. And I think if you're teaching martial arts, and I don't think running a martial arts school is a commercial thing, because anybody that's an artist should be getting paid off their art. If you're an artist trying to change the world, how could you work somewhere else and do an art over here because you're not giving this person 110% over there? Any art in the world, be it sing, be it dance, be it flip, be it whatever, be it an actor. The true meaning of acting or art is to change the world through your art. When I used to compete in tournaments, when I do a film, one individual at a time. Why am I here doing this? Care nothing about money, care nothing about Hollywood, care nothing about nothing else other than seeing another little kid come up and say, man, thank you so much. I'm going to use that. And that's what martial arts is about. And I think my instructor, most importantly, I think people like Bruce Lee, who touched my life without really realizing, knowing that he touched my life. And the power of that to be able to be on a TV show with his daughter, starring, you can't tell me that there ain't a power greater than me. And I ain't gonna never trade that in. And that's why I do martial arts, man. I mean, if you get something from that, I hope so. But a lot of times when I talk for me because I need to be reminded of where I came from and where I'm going, so I'll never go back there because I ain't trying to go back there. And that's what life's all about. And that's how I teach my students. And I just want to change the world. So I thank you.